Hey guys, if you're a viewer, just a disclaimer that I'm trying to be more transparent with the inner workings at the studio, and in that vein, you'll be seeing a lot more content on this channel because videos like this one, it's actually meant for internal use and directed at my staff. I just also want to say, I know you guys are really curious about a lot of the things that have been happening internally at the studio for the past couple of years, so the next video after that will really clarify all of the changes that High Five Studios has gone through and what the future holds. So stay tuned for that, but for now, I'm just gonna share this video with you. So here's the video. Hey guys, Farming for Dissent here. I would love your opinion. For the past 9 months since we created our vision, mission, and values, I've deeply reflected on how we can put these into practice in our company and into the world. Upon reflecting, and more recently with our Project 863 testing out in the wild, I've realized we are really onto something special. During this testing and tinkering, I've also realized that we have an opportunity to focus our vision and mission even more than it is already for maximum impact. There are 2 slight revisions I would like to make. One small revision to the vision and a moderate revision to the mission. I believe both of these changes will get to the heart of what we first aimed to do when we created this nearly a year ago. Our current vision is this. High Five Studios creates worlds so immersive that people can become lost in them through their compelling stories and shared creations. The core idea behind this vision is there, but originally writing this vision, there was always one word that really stuck out to me that I never really liked, and that one word was the word lost. At that time, if you recall, my focus was to ensure that we were making content that engaged our viewers and didn't distract them, like passively distract them from their world. The word lost is not consistent with that message, but at the time, I couldn't really explain why or how that word improperly reflected the vision's intent. The shift I'm proposing to make is to take the word lost and actually replace it with the word find. The new vision would read like this. High Five Studios creates worlds so immersive that people can find themselves within the compelling stories and shared creations. It's a subtle shift, but it gets to the core, I believe, of why this vision is powerful. Story is a vehicle for change, meaning, inspiration, and a great many other things. We all know this. So why do we often say we are escaping into entertainment? I believe some people do, there's no denying it, but to say that most people escape into story or use story to numb or run from their problems just isn't really looking close enough. As a person who loves story, it's always been really difficult to define why, and it took a lot for me to pick it apart in my life and really understand how many different stories from my childhood to my adult life has impacted me. I believe transformation, internal change, is something that we all desperately desire, but fear to undergo. We're scared. We're scared of change, scared of pain, but we know intuitively that we must defeat that dragon to earn the treasure. Story models that change, shows us that change is possible, and it inspires us to make that change in our own life. The stories we tell will entertain, that's obviously a prerequisite, but good stories do something at a far deeper level. They change you from the inside out. When I was a kid watching Star Wars, I wasn't wrapped up in the world because I wanted to escape my own or because lightsabers were cool, which they are. It was because it showed me a glimpse of what I could be if I believed. It showed me how a warrior spirit faces challenges far greater than I might ever undergo, and yet there was still victory. Good story doesn't serve to distract. It serves to engage us and to mobilize us. So how do we as a company achieve this vision beyond the ability of anyone else out in the world? So the question then changes from how do we make a better story to how do we make story better? It shifts from saying we are going to aim to tell the best stories to we are going to change the way stories are told to make greater impact with our own. But how are we going to do that? Because surprisingly, the answer is in the vision itself, worlds. Follow this thread for a moment because this leads to the next needed change in our mission as well. If meaningful story is our agency of change, how can we aid this process of transformation so that it's positive? Because not all transformation is positive or upward. From my personal experience, I know in the past, change requires safety, psychological safety. In other words, if we don't feel as though we'll be accepted, seen, validated, and cared for during these difficult trials that require us to change, negative transformation will occur. And that's something we want to avoid. The prerequisite to positive internal change is safety, empathy, love, and kindness. The worlds that we build act as a psychological chrysalis, if you will, to protect the process of transformation that story engages within us. This is the most exciting thing that makes our company completely different. And other companies see their stories as properties and commodities, but we will see our stories as mechanisms for growth, mechanisms for change out in the world. Other companies also have worlds, but they are scattered communities across the internet that's not even moderated, not held to a code or a standard to ensure this psychological safety, because ultimately that's not really what these big media corporations care about. Without these incredible worlds we will build with our communities, our stories are nothing more than shows on Netflix. Without our immersive stories that the audience actually have influence over, our worlds would just be hollow, full of gimmicks and tricks, void of meaningful interactions with our community. So that leads us into the mission. Speaking on the mission, this minor change in the vision requires that our mission statement also gets a closer look to ensure alignment. Right now, our mission sits as we tell stories that matter to us. While we only need to slightly modify this, the intent is so that we can get closer to what we have been doing this past year and what we've learned. There are two issues I have with this mission statement as it sits right now. Number one, the mission is still too individualistic, like how old High Five was, which I'll communicate in more depth in the next video. But see, a mission that promotes an individualistic culture is by definition the opposite of alignment. It's on the other side of the spectrum of our recent conversations regarding aligned initiative. When we say we will only make stories that matter to us, it requires elaboration rather than space. I think a good mission should give us space to work within, but it should not be so ill-defined that we need to clarify what we're doing every time we look at it. For instance, stories that matter to you might not matter to me. Since we all have something that matters to us, it would be impossible to align ourselves on that strata of thought. In other words, it's not an issue that we're all different, with different viewpoints, different styles and processes and ideas. The issue is we're not all going the same direction. At the story level, what matters to you must matter to me and vice versa. What matters to all of us must be the same thing. That we are passionate about modeling transformation, that we desire to make safe worlds for our audience, and that we agree that our stories should showcase the moral nuances of courage, wisdom, kindness, patience, etc. through the trials it takes to get there. I don't care if you like westerns and I like sci-fis, or that we have different ways of making great stories. That's all superficial. I need to ensure our staff is aligned to a mission that clarifies why we tell stories, why we're here. And this leads us to number two, which leads into transformation, change, and the lack of any moral agency that the mission currently does not have. I move to make this mission stronger. We need to take out "to us" and add a clarifying word or two that helps us consistently be reminded of what our real mission is. Our mission is to tell stories that change people. I'm not hung up on the actual phrasing of it. I've gotten a lot of good ideas and feedback, such as we tell stories with purpose, we tell stories that spark growth, we tell stories that process hearts, we tell stories of transformation, we tell stories that change hearts. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on how we can refine this mission to clarify this point better. I would love any feedback you guys have below. And also, just to reiterate, the next video will deal with a topic that will help clarify a lot of what's been happening internally at High Five over the past couple of years. So stay tuned, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks.